And here we go, this is the last part of the extras for Tomb Raider Anniversary. So, basically, on the version of Tomb Raider Anniversary that I've got, it's sort of a kind of collector's edition, and it has a bonus DVD disc on it, which has got a load of extra goodies that you can look at. There's a lot of artwork, advertising stuff, for almost every single game in the Tomb Raider franchise up until this point. And it's also got trailers for pretty much all of the games, and music, well, certain bits of music from both Tomb Raider Anniversary and Tomb Raider Legend. This disc here is essentially what I mentioned in Tomb Raider Legend when I said that some of the songs had been released in some format, and this is the format of what happened. Also, although the quality of the DVD itself is rather poor, I have to say when I was doing the recording for this, I was just like, my god, that's not looking clear, but I think the recording process has allowed it to kind of show up and be nice and neat, sharpened up, tidied out a little bit, which is good, because some of this artwork is absolutely beautiful. You'll see it kind of when we start looking at artwork from the later games, but it's quite cool. Also, you have, as I said before, trailers, so you get to see how the game was advertised, really, which is quite cool. Now, I'm still really impressed by this CGI cutscene. It's just really cool, and if anything, it's a great way of advertising the game to people. Because this really does show what the original Tomb Raider was about, really. Apart from, doesn't really show the platforming, but still. I mean, essentially this is just the opening cutscene of the game, except for the little bit of dialogue right at the start. Now, so deciding to do commentary over this particular part is probably one of the silliest ideas I've ever had, because it's very difficult to do. But, oh well, let's do this.
You're just the woman to find them for me. I'm afraid you've been misled. I only play for sport. Which is precisely why I've come to you, Miss Croft. This is a game you've played before.
Now, I'm quite like the font that they use there, because it is very reminiscent of the original Tomb Raider typology, really. Now, unfortunately, nothing like this has ever happened again for Tomb Raider. I mean, obviously, Lara hasn't quite reached her 20th anniversary yet, and something might happen then. But haven't received any kind of bonus content in a very long time. And I have to say, I would be a great fan of them kind of including a lot of this stuff on the game disc, and kind of making it look a lot prettier than it was, because some of this stuff is very old, as you are going to see.
Keepers of the 3 pieces of the Scion.
And it's just very nice to see these things from so long ago, and seeing them in beautiful, high quality would just be great.
There's more to life than money, Pierre.
Because you don't want to lose things like this. Definitely not. These are kind of... This is why you try and keep as all the films possible, like the original film reels, or digitize them so that you keep them safe, because losing bits of history is awful, really. I mean, that's pretty much why I have decided to include this part as an extra here, because I don't think this has really been on YouTube that much. I'd assume it's partly because people just don't have this copy of the game, really. So I'm very lucky that I got it, because it was all pre-owned, which is particularly surprising that I got this, and it has all these extras in it. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Although I will say that after a while of watching the Tomb Raider Anniversary trailers and vignettes, it does get a little bit tiresome, because they are so similar to each other. There's not a lot of diversity in how they are put together, shall we say. Also, they do kind of spoil quite a few of the big moments of the game, which is slightly disappointing. It's like, come on guys, don't spoil that moment. That's actually quite a cool moment, but yeah, if you want to kind of get people excited to buy something, that's how you do it. I say, if anything, the vignettes are slightly more frustrating to watch than the trailers, because they are just so short, and don't really cover a whole lot either. It's slightly bizarre. Though some of the things that they do cover is odd, to say the least, because they cover like the Waking the Dead and going to Egypt, but then there are other things that they don't deal with. Like, I don't think that they really deal with locating the Scion, but they do deal with the various weapons. I mean, I suppose it does make sense in the long run, because, I mean, the Scion are a big important part of the plot. Also, silly me for pushing a button when I really shouldn't have done. And I have to say, I am never returning to the folly again. Up until the point where I'm just like, yeah, why not? Let's do the time trials in the Tomb Raider games. Which is, it's going to be a long time before that happens, I think. But yes, I don't want to return to the folly, thank you. I think I've had enough for one day. Well, for a long time. The folly was just a bit too big, that particular room. Far too big for my liking. I am quite grateful that they don't kind of spoil the whole Natla thing. I mean, the whole Natla twist is kind of the biggest plot thing that the original Tomb Raider has. And even though, obviously, it's been out a long time at this point, and had been out 10 years by Tomb Raider Anniversary, it's still not something that you really want spoiled, especially if you're going to experience it for like the first time. So I'm quite glad that they kind of stayed away from, well, mostly stayed away from showing off the Lost Island. Don't worry, we are about to get to the very, very interesting bits. And I mean very, very interesting, because... got this... oh no, there's the Lost Island. I thought they'd stay away from it. No. Can't do that. But basically we are reaching the point where we're going to see really old Tomb Raider footage. And I do mean really old. We're going to be looking at trailers for Tomb Raider 2 all the way up to Tomb Raider Legend, I believe. Yes, here's the rather random weapon trailer. I don't quite get the purpose of this. I mean, I'm assuming that there must have been a few others, because this only covers the machine guns. But I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention to things when I was all the way back in 2007. But now we get to look at 10 years of Lara.
Is about to face her ultimate destiny.
And here we go. This is how Tomb Raider used to be advertised, which... this is the stuff that fascinates me more than anything.
To save the future, she must face her past. Tomb Raider, the last revelation.
Oh, okay, it's Last Revelation up. I think they must have not been able to find
Full of adventure, so much is unseen.
stuck trailers for like 1 and 2 and stuff. Also, you can really see kind of this continual step up in the animation quality as we go through this
In our hearts.
series. Also, I have no idea what was going on with the aspect ratio in that trailer. Like, what the hell were they on? Because it just kind of keeps going in and out and up and down. I have no idea. I just kind of just keep myself out. And I love the mention of the Enochian Gospels there. If you've watched my walkthrough of Bayonetta, you will understand that I'm really a fan of Enochian. It's a really cool language. The principles itself of Enochian are probably less awesome, but kind of the language itself is pretty cool. But yeah, this is the Tomb Raider game that was really poorly received by fans. Like, really poorly received. Basically because it took Lara on a darker path. And really, it's not what Lara needed at all. Also, it kind of took Lara away from tombs and kind of brought her more into the city, more so than she needed to be. So, yeah, that's why people didn't really like Angel of Darkness, and I can understand why. Although it's then rather amusing that it basically gets the longest trailer of the batch. Which seems like a rather bizarre idea if you... well, rather bizarre decision if you ask me. And finally, after all that, we have Tomb Raider Legends, which basically marked the return to form for Lara after so long in the shadows of her lesser titles. Also, I'm a massive fan of that CGI movement. That particular bit is just really cool. Also, this is the point where we get to look at lots of original concept art from pretty much every single game in the series. And it's insane. I mean, you get the rather annoying, slightly too far out version, and then you get the nice, big, clear version of the art. And even though it crops things out, it's still really amazing to be able to see up close. Although sometimes they could have probably done a little better in how they up-resed these things, because certain ones of them are rather terrifying to look at. Because sometimes Lara's eyes are a little bit terrifying. I mean, oh gosh. Also, I mean, just sometimes looking at the hair texture is just quite interesting, because it kind of does look like hair, but kind of doesn't. It's slightly odd. Also, once again, they are showing us pictures and not playing any music, which is rather depressing. I mean, it certainly makes more sense here, because it's a DVD, so it can't keep music going throughout these things. Could also be that I'm not letting music start, but I just wanted to get through these things in a nice pace. And that shot wasn't flattering for you, Lara, I'm sorry. She very much looked like she had a unibrow in that thing, which is evidently not the case, but there we go. Also, once again, you can see that Angel of Darkness really, really went on a very different path to the other Tomb Raider games, which kind of even more so shows why people didn't really take to it too well. And also they show a lot of Angel of Darkness concept art. I'm assuming it's because they've got that. They must have lost a lot of the original stuff. So that's why the earlier things don't have quite as many as Angel of Darkness does. But I do wish they'd been able to find some more stuff. Also, the Tomb Raider Legend art is really beautiful. And that basically covers our 10 Years of Lara gallery. It's probably the best bit of the entire DVD. But we also have small sections of the soundtracks from Tomb Raider Anniversary and Tomb Raider Legend. If you wanted to listen to all of these, you could. I'm not going to, because that would take forever. And you kind of get the gist of how this works. Just show you main theme from Tomb Raider Legend. And basically that covers us for the entirety of Tomb Raider Anniversary. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this little look back at Lara's history. And I will see you in the next playthrough or walkthrough. See you then.